So I blame Ellie because, of course, everywhere she has to go, she's just a menace to society. But we're here. We are here nonetheless. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Opie-Verse Book of Boba Fett special. Some may say this is the start of phase 2. Some might say this is the end of phase 1. I feel like this is like the Avengers film that ended phase 1. Next week, phase 2 commences. I have no idea what phase 2 is, by the way, but it's nice to talk about it anyway, so never mind. James, is your hair all right there? I know not everybody else can see it, but I can see it. I know these guys can't see it, but yeah, nice. You forget I can see you. Guys, I can see so many of you in the chat tonight. Thank you for joining us. I hope to make this enjoyable for you. The first thing I need to say is I'm not going to kick you out by any means, but if you haven't seen the Book of Boba Fett and you want to avoid spoilers, first of all, well done for avoiding spoilers this far, but this is all about chapter 7 and then the series as a whole. So we'll be talking a lot about it, what it means for the people that we have today with us and for their kind of niches and their interests as well. So yeah, if you've done well to avoid the spoilers and you want to continue, this is probably not the place to be. But you know, if you haven't seen it and you're cool, that's fine. If you have seen it though, then you are absolutely in the right place. So sit down, get comfy, grab a beverage. Of course, I've gone for Ribena tonight. So get comfy and settle in, and we will start by bringing out our guests. First one to comment with a guest name. You all know who they are. That's who we'll bring out, because I don't want to be biased tonight. So first name to appear in the chat. First name. Hey, Fox, I can see you there. It's all right. Enjoy editing your stop motion. Of course, it was always going to be. Ellie, you're on mute. There you go. How's it going?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Liam?
I'm all right. I'm all right. You're looking especially ravishing this evening, I must say. Your hair is looking very,
I
very
curled
nice.
my hair for this.
It's nice to see you've made an effort, so thank you for that. James was just doing his hair that I could see. Everybody's turned out. That's what we like on the Opie-Verse.
I usually don't put in an effort. I usually show up pretty musty.
I appreciate it. How's your week been? Been up to much?
My week's been great. I've been busy with school, but this has been the highlight of my week. So
that's the right answer.
We streamed the finale together on Wednesday, and now we're here to talk about it. So
we did indeed. And what I would say is the what I said to you on that post Boba Fett live about how he beat Cad Bane and switched to the gaffy stick. Element 7 did a video on that, and I was like, yes. Wow, there we go. Anyway, how are your minifigures? How are your Lego sets? Because they've been kind of squished in a little bit this week. And then secondly, before we bring in our next guest, what are you drinking?
All right. Well, someone in the chat mentioned Tech. So he's doing fine. He's the one who started the whole back pocket ordeal.
Tech.
I also have my honorary Max Revo and Bimbo Vader with me. They're doing great. If anybody in the chat doesn't know me, they probably know my back pocket. So put a face to the... I'm drinking an Aperol Spritz.
Great drink. Great drink. Nice drink. Nice drink indeed. Right, because he's next in line, I'm going to bring out James. We're going to switch between the two. James, welcome back. You're only a week away. Can't keep away these days. How are you, mate? How's your week been?
I'm doing good, and it's been really, really busy between work and content creating, just non-stop. I feel like I haven't rested at all.
I noticed this week, and I don't know, in my head, I was like, is that the first time you've done that? But you made a video in your car, and you know when somebody is stretched for time, when they ditch the studio, they ditch the comfort, and you're like, I'm going to do a video in my car.
You would think that, but that video was actually made like a month ago. I just drafted it and completely forgot all about it. And I've now completely ran out of memes. I've converted completely from memes to facts now. I've just got nothing left. And I'm not seeing anything on the FYP. So I figured, oh, well, that's been drafted. I better get that out just for an extra video. But yeah.
Nice. I know you're like, can you talk about these videos are going really well? And you've like people are finding like the most obscure of things, characters, worlds, and but they're landing really like this. I'm seeing stuff on there that I'm like, I have no idea what that is, but then you talk about it. It's pretty cool. So keep that series going. And the good thing is, what you're doing is you're following the questions, which keeps it going. So you're being led by your people. But yeah, what are you drinking? Are you having a drink with us tonight, or are you on the soft drinks?
Non-alcoholic. No, I have work tomorrow early, so I have like my daughter's juice left over. That, I mean, she's not here; she ain't gonna know about it. But yeah, it's pretty good stuff.
On the hard stuff. Well, welcome to the party. Get comfy, and it's going to be a good one. Next in, we have our, I believe, our second or third, I think third guest on the Opie-Verse. Star Wars cosplayer, thirst trapper. I don't know. We'll bring her in. But Chloe Femren, good evening. Welcome back. How are you? You're on mute. That's a good start. Do you know? Does she know she's on mute?
I'm not sure she does.
There you go. There you go.
Bad start.
How are you?
Anyway, I was just saying, I do have a top on. I'm not naked. It kind of looks like I am from here, but yeah.
So when talking on mute and then having to explain that you're not naked, hell of a start, Chloe. Great. Ellie right now is writing notes.
It's classic me, I think.
How are you? How's your week been? And welcome to us from your new pad, because last time you were home and then you moved into new pad. So yeah, welcome.
Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. Yeah, I'm in my new flat. This is the wall in Watford.
So
yeah,
is that magenta?
It's magenta, is it? I don't know. I don't know. Yes, I've basically had my last week at my job. I'm starting a new job on Wednesday. So
congratulations.
Thank you. So it's been interesting, but yeah, it's been good. Thanks.
Good stuff. Well, it is a pleasure to have you here, and we look forward to chatting all things Book of Boba Fett with you. So these two are sat. Nobody else can see this, but they are sat in absolute anticipation of joining. And just so you see it as I see it, I'm just going to do it like that. And they're sat there with their slave ones.
We've been waiting for like 30 minutes, Opie. Come on.
Yeah, just these slave ones have been on.
And it's been a pleasure having everybody on. Until next week. John, Erin, Padawan Archer, how the devil are you both?
Go ahead. How are you?
Doing good. I served a lot of people coffee this morning.
I'm not too bad either. Thanks for asking. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good. I went out. This probably means nothing to you. It might know something. It might mean something to Ellie. It definitely means something to the other two, though. I went out for a nice Sunday roast today. Some nice Sunday dinner. Nice, but I went to Belly Pork. It was nice, and I had a nice Yorkshire pudding with it as well. So yeah.
British.
Ellie will probably know that. Yes, indeed. But if you've never sampled a Yorkshire pudding, you absolutely need to. But yeah, how I don't know what I was going to say there. Settle down. So yeah, thank you for making it. It certainly won't keep you, because I know it is Super Bowl Sunday, and for those you guys watching, we don't know if we will get something. We don't know if we do get something, what we'll get. But it is Super Bowl Sunday is typically a time when production companies release trailers. So we have Ellie on Trailer Watch for us on YouTube. If we get something, I'll just see if I can stream it through this and then go from there. So keep an eye out for that. If anybody sees anything in the chat, though, please let us know and we'll try and find it and share it as a group. That would be pretty cool if that could happen. But yeah, before we make a start, I have to say, on a stream where Ellie is on, and Ellie, and for those of you who are not familiar with Ellie, her current niche is putting Lego in her back pocket and showing them off. in tight jeans. We have Chloe, who is a Sith Empress cosplayer and definitely transitional thirst trapper, like for sure. But on a stream when we have those two on, who thought Erin would be the most kind of sus of them all? Now, you're probably thinking, what are you talking about? So, let me see if I can find it.
Oh no.
So, I'm just sharing infinitely there. There it all at, but hopefully you guys can see that.
That's me.
That's us.
That's us.
So just one more time for the.
What? I'm confused.
I can't hear the audio.
Oh no! Okay,
I
so
can,
for some reason,
recreate it. Actually, I don't speak in that one. Never mind.
You just got to go, yep.
so if you're wondering what the audio says there, it's actually Erin. Why don't you tell us what it says? Chloe, would you? I mean, you duetted it, so would you like to tell us?
I could kind of remember. I could barely remember. I just remember it being like, is it the gorgeous girls?
Yeah.
That one, yeah.
And then it ends with gorgeous girls make like men with big something like that.
Kudos.
Thank you. I grew it myself.
Attaboy. So yeah, for some reason I couldn't share it. As I say, I left everything at the last minute. It wouldn't work properly, but never mind. But yeah, just a bit of fun. So let's yes, you can see it on Chloe's TikTok, and by the way, everybody's link trees or beacons are linked below. Ellie, stop looking at yourself in the mirror. You look fine. We can see
I was coming into this and I was like, I'm going to be nice to him tonight, but I'm on my second one right now, and so it'll go full out war, Liam.
So I wake up every morning to like absolute shots fired by like over about 3 or 4 videos by Ellie, and then live earlier, further shots were fired. So the gloves are off today. The gloves are off. Never mind. So yeah, let's talk all things Book of Boba Fett. First of all, I think let's talk about chapter 7 in isolation, because I refrained from talking about it because we're having this, but I'm keen to talk about it in isolation, just that one episode, what we thought about it, and then we can talk about kind of the series as a whole and then collectively from there. So question 1, what are your thoughts on chapter 7? I'm not going to kind of be the teacher here, so I will open up to the floor, and if it's chaos, I will resume order by taking full teacher duties.
Ellie, go first.
Ellie, go first. This is her rebelling.
I'm not a huge fan of fight scenes. Just in general, I get really bored. I just kind of sit there twiddling my thumbs. I think it got better towards the second half. I definitely enjoyed it. I think it was great. And it was a good wrap up to the series. And I appreciate that, Liam, you and I streamed afterwards, because you made some connections that I didn't even catch. I'm excited to see if there's a season 2 or what it leads into. I thought some of the scenes were a little silly. But
we're talking about the spin, aren't we?
The spin.
When Grogu went up to the Rancor, like I thought the Rancor. No. Yes. I thought the Rancor scene was great. I thought the Rancor scene was great with Grogu doing like the Ezra Rebels thing, but then afterwards when he like cuddled up to it like a cat, I was like,
that was my favorite. I thought
That was adorable. I was not mad.
I was like, that my cat does that to me every night. I was like, I don't see Grogu as a cat, but. And then the King Kong scene, or no, not King Kong, Godzilla.
There was a King Kong scene though, where I think King Kong was him climbing the tower. It was almost like homage to them both, wasn't it? Like the ridges on the back was more King Kong. More Godzilla, and then it kind of became a bit more King Kong when he was inside.
That that was kind of a funny little thing that Disney did. But I think the CGI was amazing. The Rancor, the scenes of like Boba riding the Rancor, the cuts of Mando and Boba coming down on the jetpacks. Those are some of the best, in my opinion, pieces of. I am jealous. I can't cuddle with the Rancor. Those are in my opinion, the best like Star Wars action scenes. So I really liked it. I thought it was a good end to the series. I kind of wish we had a little bit more dialogue and character development, but I'm not complaining. I enjoyed it.
So that kind of leads us into the next bit, which we won't touch on now, but that's then is that question there that stands, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, is should that development have happened more over the series or within that episode? Because to try and develop a lot within that episode would have felt very crammed, and go from there. But yeah, James, what did you think?
I thought it was good towards the end, probably for obvious reasons. But yeah, it was a slow starter, but this is kind of what I expected from someone like Boba Fett, considering what we got from the trailer about how he's wanting to move away from bounty hunting and I want to be a crime lord. So I figured it would be kind of like a slowish burn, Breaking Bad kind of vibe. We didn't quite get the Breaking Bad kind of vibe, but I felt there was a little character development in some areas where we're seeing Boba's other side that we've never really seen before. All in all, I would give it like an 8.5 out of 10 series.
Yeah, I'm sure they would take that. I mean, especially so. Interestingly, what would you rate Mando season 1 and season 2? Are you putting them straight at 10 out of 10, or would you have them in the 9 points?
Well, Din's like my new favorite character, like non-Force user wise. He's just got this like very silentness about him, but it's not like toxic masculinity. It's just all because he can still make friends. He can still, get the job done without having to be overly talkative. And someone like that is just quite relatable. Because of his character and the entire events and the nostalgia that they throw into both season 1 and season 2, I think season 1 for me is going to be a solid 9 out of 10, and probably the same for season 2 as well.
Well, I think it's fair to say if you're putting Boba Fett, because there is no doubt, I don't think anybody is saying Book of Boba Fett was better than The Mandalorian by any means.
Oh no!
But to put the Book of Boba Fett a point to a half a point behind, I think is pretty strong scoring, because I think there are some people who would have a far bigger gap. So, but I think we talked about it last week, James. The level at which The Mandalorian is at is untouchable. And that's not just within the Star Wars universe, within kind of the Disney universe. I don't think anything as a series really touches it or gets anywhere near it. But it has reasons to get under that. Padawan Archer, John, Aaron?
Go ahead. What are your thoughts on episode 7?
No, you go first.
Okay. So I have 2 Boba Fett minifigures right here. I've got the Empire Strike Back one and the newer one. And
wait.
Okay.
Okay. I've never been able to do this.
Okay. These 2 characters are completely different. And I think the Book of Boba Fett, it's kind of subjective to say how you feel about Boba Fett. But they changed the character for a more anti-hero perspective. And I think it's warranted, I guess. Because, I mean, they took all the elements of Boba Fett from, the original trilogy, and they gave it to the Mando. So if you had two characters that were exactly the same, I think it'd be pretty boring. So I think episode 7 kind of showed their differences in a way, where it seems Mando's more gung-ho. Boba kind of wants a more diplomatic solution, if that makes sense. And I think that was one of the bigger parts, one of the bigger themes of episode 7. And then the Rancor part was just really cool. So I got to say episode 7 wasn't as good as the previous 2 episodes, but it was probably like a 7 or 8 out of 10. What did you think of it?
I was kind of upset. I wanted a bigger bounty hunter war. I felt that it was kind of rushed in a way, and they could have put just a little bit more action in, because I do like action scenes and watching action fight scenes.
And Bosk should have been in it.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like his absence is a conscious decision, though. as in they have other plans for him, whether that's within the War of the Bounty Hunters comic series, which is set before this, like are they basically going to off Bosk, and that explains why, or did they feel that he's such a big character, and when they lined up who they wanted to bring in, they would have been bringing him in for the sake of it, so almost his cameo would have been cheap, and then when we look forward, especially with Cad Bane and like how important Cad Bane's role in that was, would there, in bringing Bosk in, would it have been a cheap move? And do they save that for the next? Because the good thing is they can bring him in as both Boba's ally and his enemy, and like relevant to the thing. So yeah, I really would have loved to seen him, but at the same time, as long as they do something with that, as long as it's a conscious effort with a plan to do that, then I'm cool with that.
Also,
So,
one last thing, I apologize. Cad Bane went out like a punk. That's all I gotta say.
So would you, what are you saying, that you would rather he survived or that he'd kind of had a more glorious death?
Yeah, just a little bit more of a glorious death. The gaffy stick was cool, but when Aaron and I were watching it and I saw Boba come back on the Rancor with the gaffy stick, I was like, he's going to kill Cad Bane with it. It's just, I just thought it was a little predictable, but...
I mean, it was more like a full circle moment, though.
Right. I just kind of wish they stuck a little bit more to that Clone Wars animatic that we never truly saw, Yeah,
and I saw someone mention during the week that like that was canonized by the dialogue, and I was like, nah, it wasn't for me, because one, Cad Bane would have died. But yeah, it's it's tough, right? Because in one hand they've brought Cad Bane in, and he's such a big character that he deserves a like the biggest possible death. Like a death in cinematics is like, it's an honor, right? Like to die on screen, it's for a character to do that, it's such a big thing. But then they just established how good like everybody was rooting for him. But they can always do flashback stuff, and they can always do like go backwards and all that. But yeah, it was cool. It's I liked it though, and I feel like I enjoyed the dialogue between the two, and I liked the foreshadowing, how he tried to bait him in by talking about how the Pikes had killed the Tuscans and stuff, and like try to kind of appeal to old Boba, and Fennec talked him down. Like I feel like at that moment Boba won, because he was not playing on Cad's level. But yeah. There you go. That's my thoughts anyway. But yeah, I think it's pretty. Yeah, it was a good episode. Chloe.
Hello. Yeah. So.
Hello.
So, yeah. I mean, I really liked it, but I see where everyone's coming from, and but yeah, I love my Grogu. Any scene with Grogu in, I was dying. I was like, oh, my heart. It really was like, oh. And then when he cuddled up with the Rancor, I was dying. I was like, that was so cute. And we're hugging. Oh, I can't. My ovaries are like, I need a child.
There you go, gents. You heard it here first.
But yeah, I liked it. I think like everyone, I'm not a huge fan of the biker sort of squad. Don't know, they don't really do it for me. And the spin, obviously, as soon as when that came up, I was like, what was that like? But other people being saying other characters do a spin like that and stuff. But
this is the thing. So Mando did a spin, but Mando got away with it because of the mod doing the spin. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but it's just I mean, it's campy. Star Wars can be campy now and then, so it's fine. And yeah, I think I would like Cad Bane to have survived, considering they brought him back, and we only, for a series, and for 2 episodes in the series, has it been? I don't know, but yeah, I wish we saw more, would be able to see more of him in the future. As you said, we could do flashbacks and stuff like that. I don't know why I'm saying like I make the series. I write Star Wars. We could do this, yeah. Like no, but yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'd say 8 out of 10 again.
Sweet. Again, good rating. Good rating. I'll flash us back like this. But so I had a really good question there and I've totally forgot it. I swear it was a good question. Oh man, it's totally gone. Oh, it was such a good question as well. Never mind. I swear that was a good question. Yeah, so like for me, I think I really enjoyed the opening. I think a lot of people kind of jumped to the end and it got good and all that, but I really liked the beginning because I think one thing I really wanted it to be when it set out to be what it was going to be was that kind of crime lord stuff, that, you know, that Godfather, that gangster style stuff, and it never really got going into that, and that requires a lot of dialogue. One of my favorite series for anything like that is Boardwalk Empire, if any of you have ever seen it. And it's all about dialogue. It's all about the shifty movements. It's all about putting the right, like, underhanded deceitness and all of that. And we almost only, like, we didn't get enough of that, if you ask me. It's not about them kind of waging wars. It's about a bit like what the Pikes did, about kind of strategic attacks and blowing up the sanctuary and stuff like that. So I think it kind of lacked a bit of that to really establish it. But I don't know if anybody noticed, but the bit where, do you know when, right at the end, when Fennec and Boba are walking down, he's like, why does everybody bow? And then, like, why did they play like Renaissance fair type music? Like somebody was playing a fiddle. Did anybody else notice that?
No.
Yeah, if you listen to the soundtrack for 5 through 7, they just released it Friday. It goes into the Book of Boba Fett Renaissance, and then goes to Mando because he's obviously above Tatooine. But the jump is so weird from the fiddle to the just the normal Mando theme. It's so jarring.
It's definitely one to play back. I've remembered my question, and it's such a good question. Well, it better be now, better it? But it was on your point, Chloe, about how they brought Grogu back in, and people were. I've seen a lot of comments about how they brought him back in, and they're disappointed because they didn't bring Luke in at that moment.
I was thinking that actually. I was thinking that because I was expecting it to cut back to the scene they left it on, and them showing Grogu choosing the armor, not the lightsaber. They were going to show that whole scene, and I think people just love seeing Luke again. They're just so excited for it. But I'm not disappointed necessarily about the way they introduced Grogu again. You got the point. And CGI costs a lot of money, so they probably were trying to cut costs or whatever. But yeah,
very well could be that. Any other thoughts?
I'm happy he didn't come back. I still think that Tales of a Jedi project is going to be about Luke's temple, because when
has anybody else heard of this? Because I didn't, and Ellie is so invested in this Tales of the Jedi project, and I know nothing about it.
So invested. We just talked about it on Wednesday.
Yeah, but you have like a 5-point plan about what exactly it's going to be.
Yeah, I fully do have like a 1,000 word outline of all my theories after.
Wait, Ellie, have you seen the comments?
Yeah, it says Kenobi trailer.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I can see teaser trailer concept.
Wait, where?
Concept? Oh no.
Oh no. John, don't.
That is so mean.
Gotcha. Oh my gosh.
Oh shit, yeah, that looks legit.
I have like a million notifications on, and I was like, how did I miss that? So Lucasfilms like released a list of projects they're going to come out with. I don't know if it was just 2022 or if it was like the foreseeable future. And it was kind of all of the ones that we've expected: Ahsoka, Kenobi, Boba Fett, Indiana Jones. But then there was something called Tales of the Jedi on there, and no one knows what it is. Everyone's like, what the hell is that? And I mean, I was kind of in the same boat until we got the Jedi Temple, Luke building a Jedi Temple. And I was like, it's going to be everything he's teaching. Well, at that point, I thought it might be Grogu and Kylo, but everything he's teaching young Kylo Ren about the Jedi and stories that he has, and whether or not they're true or not, that would kind of be like the premise of the show. And I think the reason that they showed the Jedi Temple, because it just seems so random, frankly, to show them building that and give such a whole episode to the Jedi Temple being built and kind of Ahsoka being there, and Grogu being one of Luke's potential students. I think it's going to lead into that Tales of the Jedi show. And so I'm happy that Luke didn't show up in the end of episode 7 with Grogu. I think that there's going to be a future for either CGI Luke or someone like Sebastian Stan or like another.
Not Sebastian Stan.
I know you don't want him, but a lot of people want him, and he wants to be Luke Skywalker.
I would love
What does he?
to be Luke Skywalker.
He like made a comment that it was like, if Mark Hamill's okay with it, I would love.
Yeah, like if he personally asked Sebastian Stan to be Luke.
Okay, so side note, I feel like everyone knows the question that's potentially coming here.
Are you talking about?
On the back of James's recommendation last week, I watched the first 4 episodes of Pam and Tommy.
So good.
So good.
The
Literally
prosthetics,
finished it in one day.
I knew where that was going. As soon as you said Pam and Tommy, I was like, it's going to be the penis, isn't it? He's going to mention the penis.
It was like 2 a.m.
Who's talking about a penis?
Yeah, we skipped a few. We jumped a
What other
bit.
prosthetics could you be talking about, Liam?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
I meant like the nose, the eye, like all that.
Have you watched episode 2?
I've watched all 4. Yeah,
So you
but
know.
Yeah.
but I just feel like
He covered his eyes. I don't know what you're talking about.
yeah.
Caught me out of left field. It really did. I was like, they're not going to.
And then they did. You see it.
Fair play. The one thing that he thinks really weird, now I've seen it though, is that like now it's on. I don't mean the penis, I mean the show. But yeah, the penis is the context for this. I'm going to stop saying penis now. But on the Disney Plus homepage, you go on and the big banner they have like Pam and Tommy. That like I thought, given
In the
all
US,
of the
it's on Hulu.
Yeah, it's on Hulu.
Yeah, it's on Hulu.
right. We don't have Hulu here, so it's on Disney Plus here.
Oh.
So you go in, and then it's like, watch Encanto. No, watch Pam and Tommy.
Oh, what?
And they scroll, right? So if like a child is a bit slow with the remote, like they go to switch, press on Encanto, and then it swipes across, and then like penis.
Did you like Falcon and Winter Soldier? You'll love Sebastian Stan. Tommy.
Exactly that. Because you watch that, watch this. But yeah, great series. But we digress. Yeah, James, what was your thoughts on the lack of Luke Skywalker and the way they kind of brought Grogu back?
Appropriate. If anything, I mean, the entire episode.
He's definitely going for a Mando approach, isn't he? A strong, silent man of few words. How did you feel?
Yeah, so it was, it was just appropriate. I mean, it is Boba's show, and I know that they pretty much took him out entirely of the 6th episode. But I mean, if anything, it's when I was saying last week about Boba Fett sharing the spotlight as such, it's appropriate if you're creating a branch, of which they are doing, because this branching episode, as I've called it, we're branching off into potentially a Boba Fett season 2, Mando season 3, Ahsoka's getting her show. So we have that branching episode, and a lot of people were, of course, making the joke of, at least maybe Boba Fett will get a cameo in the next episode. So, but while people were making fun of that, I thought, well, look at it in a different media platform. If you were reading a comic book and you turn the page, sometimes you'll see in the top corner meanwhile elsewhere. Yeah. So it's expanding on the entire universe. It's not just Boba. It's what's happening with other characters and how they're going to potentially intertwine into each other's lives and what they could do for each other in the future. So I felt like the whole reason why we had that episode is not just to set up a potential episode. It is to really exemplify what is going to be going forward with Grogu's future, with Ahsoka, considering that she now has this connection with Luke. So it's leaving us with more questions than anything, but it's very appropriate. I'll come back to.
I think it's a good word. John, Erin, did I ask you guys what you thought about the lack of Luke?
No, go ahead.
I
What'd you
didn't.
think?
So
I thought it was like, I don't think he needed to be at that
Mhm.
battle. And I really liked how they revealed how Grogu picked the little chainmail shirt. I thought it was so
Yeah.
cute when he jumped into his arms. I literally started bawling. I was like, it's so cute. Like, I was so excited. He's like, you got this shirt. And it was like, Mando and Grogu back together again. The world is right.
yeah, I think
Luke
even I.
Skywalker simp.
No, I agree. I don't think Luke should have been there. I think he would have detracted from the whole
Mhm.
building Boba and Mando. I feel like he would have taken the spotlight over, kind of like he did in the previous episode.
Yeah, and I feel like if he turned up, he would have had to have done something.
Mhm.
So, and that was my thing, is like, how would they, going in before we went into the episode, is how do they answer that question without kind of Luke interfering? So I thought it was going to, like I think somebody else mentioned earlier, like we would see that scene play out. I think it was you, Chloe. You see that on like on the Jedi, on Luke's new kind of world where the temple is. But the way they did it actually was pretty subtle and pretty cool, the way they did it. And they gave us that kind of Mando, end of Mando season 2 teaser with the X-Wing. We
That
all
was
knew it
so
wasn't one of the the New Republic Rangers. Like, we all knew it wasn't that, but yeah, I like the way they did it. It was pretty cool.
John, what do you?
Johnny, are you scouring for trailers, John?
There's
Yeah.
nothing. Whoever that is in the comments is a little liar.
Our Discord started going off too.
Call him out.
But
I like
yeah,
completely missed what you guys were talking about because I was
Yeah, off
going through
Discord.
every Twitter thread I could possibly find. There was a Kenobi trailer out.
so thinking of this, because I think when a lot of people talk now about the series, and it's almost for a lot of people the series started kind of chapter 5 when Mando came in and we got that. I think when people talk about it, they talk about it that way. But it's like, as a whole, when we go all the way back to kind of Boba escaping from the Sarlacc pit, certainly that first episode, and then kind of spending his time with the Tuskens, and just generally how they develop that character. How do we look at the series as a whole?
I thought the first 3 episodes were absolutely amazing, and I was loving the track that it was going on. Although I think that episode 5 was probably like the episode that was basically just Mando. I think that was one of the best episodes we've ever gotten of Star Wars, period. I wish it was in Mando season 3. Because I think the show was on a really good trajectory, but also I'm not going to complain because we already got it. I think it wrapped up well, but I really enjoyed the first 3 episodes and I thought it was on a really good path. I think the 4th one is kind of where I know a lot of people enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy it as much as other people. And the 5th one was when Mando showed up. But
so the 4th one is where the Tuskens are slaughtered. He rescues Fennec, and then he retrieves Slave One. Yeah. Okay.
There were some good parts of it. I think that it started to get like a little bit too off track of what I expected, though, and that's kind of why I was like, there was too many flashbacks. But I
feel like that was a big narrative, though, is that I think some people, when they started to get to like episode 3 and then certainly episode 4, were a bit like, okay, can we just be done with like the flashbacks now? We want to see. And I do share that somewhat, not as in like we should have got less flashbacks, but did it need another episode to be able to stretch and tell more of the current time and that kind of like what Boba is like, especially when we didn't get any of them in chapter 5 or 6. But
I think I would have been okay with it if I knew that we were getting more than 7 episodes. Like if episode 4 had still flashbacks, but I knew we were getting maybe like 9 or 10 episodes, I'd be like, yeah, totally. We haven't even reached the middle of the season yet, but yeah. I kind of was ready for them to be over. Not that they weren't good flashbacks. I was just ready for them to be over.
Yeah, indeed. Anybody else have any thoughts on the series as a whole?
Do you have any thoughts?
You're the one who unmuted, so obviously.
I was going to say, am I asking John so John can ask Erin?
Well, I don't want Erin to feel left out, so
I've talked more than you have.
She has, John.
I feel like they kind of they improved Boba, but they kind of they didn't use Boba as well as I thought they could have, especially his vehicle, the fire spray gunship, if you want to call it that from now on. It was only in one episode for like maybe half the episode. And I mean, the poster has it taking off right behind him. So I thought we'd see it in more than just that one episode. I kind of wish we saw Boba go to a few more planets than just Tatooine. I understand it's a centralized, it's location. He's trying to take over or control Mos Espa and the rest of Tatooine. But, it would have been cool to see him go to a different planet, But overall, I think it was a pretty good successor to The Mandalorian. It's just The Mandalorian was so big and so huge in scope. When you get a smaller project like Boba Fett, it's kind of hard to compare. It's almost apples to oranges,
Yeah.
So I think it was a good series overall.
Indeed it was. Any other thoughts, Chloe, James?
I was just gonna say at the start, I enjoyed it, but I don't think I thought it wasn't really for me. I don't think I really loved Boba's character that much, just because it's like, I don't know, I just didn't connect with him as much as someone would love another character, so and so. But yeah, I think it was a good series and it was starting really well. But yeah, as I said, I was just getting a bit like, I don't think this is for me until Mando showed up. But yeah,
I think it's quite funny though, but it is a good point that potentially if Mando hadn't showed up in chapter 5 and they'd continued the way they were going, potentially a lot of people would have dropped off at that point. And it was maybe even the kind of the horns, Mando's horn that played right at the end of chapter 4 that made some people kind of tune in the next week, because it was that point where people were starting to say, like, I'm starting to struggle with it a little bit, because it felt like it was directed, at a very particular audience. And it was very different anyway, I would say. It was very different than anything else we've seen in Star Wars. And some people were like, okay, this is kind of, I'm struggling with this a little bit. But yeah, then Mando came and saved the day. James?
Yeah, I mean, as a whole, the series is solid. I did enjoy it from start to finish. There were a little slow episodes, I'll call it, but I felt everything was necessary to tell the story that they wanted to tell. I thought the flashbacks when he was in the Bacta tank was a very good framing device for that. I mean, we needed something to kind of answer some questions, and we don't really want him to just say something in passing by of, oh, how'd you get out the Sarlacc pit? Well, let's sit down, let's talk about it. Like, we kind of want to see that, and we got like some really cool answers from those. I thought Tamira Morrison did a great job, as expected. His care for the Tusken Raiders just felt very authentic to me. And despite the entire flashback of what we're seeing between him, I mean, it doesn't feel like he's been with them for 5 years. It just doesn't. It feels like it's just been like maybe a week. But obviously, when you're looking at it as like a larger, broader view, I would suppose, you don't really gain that much respect in such a small amount of time. So it somewhat makes sense, but it went far pretty well. I thought Cad Bane was very appropriate nemesis for Boba Fett, especially when the setting is Tatooine and it just screams Western. So we have that whole quick draw going on with Cobb Vanth. I've never felt my heart go so much as soon as I saw this not a hooded figure, but this silhouetted figure in the distance just walking closer. And I was like, who are you? Frame out, come back in. It's Cad. I'm like, oh shit. So yeah, it had some very good callbacks, some really well placed characters, not just for fan service, because it fits with Boba's whole story of who's he going up against, who's he going to ally himself with, who is he going to choose to surround himself with, who is he going to have to make deals with. It's very well written. It's of course not going to appease to everybody.
Indeed. So I mean, personally, I really liked it, and if anything, I would say I would just like to a little bit more crime lord. I would like to a bit more kind of shenanigans in that way. I mean, even like the mods, like, okay, people didn't like the mods, but like give them more, show them kind of running like collections and stuff. Like it was almost like we were introduced to them in not a great way, like that they'll be forever tied to that chase scene, and then all of a sudden they're kind of leading their line. And I think they were, that my opinion of them certainly raised in that final episode, other than the spin. But like I think generally, like I bought into them a little bit more. Well, two of them, because none of the others were allowed to speak. But I think the one I really felt for, because whilst everybody, especially in chapter 5 and chapter 6, everybody was kind of feeling, oh, it's Book of Boba Fett, and we're not seeing a lot of Boba development, and we're not even seeing Boba on screen, or he's not got any lines and stuff. One person I really felt for was Fennec Shand. I think she's a master assassin. Like that is like the elitist of the elite, right? So like she's up there. We know she's a badass, and she has got like a bit of story and a bit of back kind of story through Mando, and then even more so in like Bad Batch and stuff. But I feel like this was a great opportunity to give her more and see her more in action. And I feel like when we come to that final scene with the Pikes dying and the heads of the other families and stuff, I had no problem with her doing that, because it almost made like Boba was never going to lose the battle, because he had to kind of lead the troops and everybody rallied behind him. So it totally made sense for Fennec to go, but there was kind of no plot grab for Fennec to go. Like you weren't rooting for her at that. It felt like when he sent her, that was it. She was just going to go, and like you knew what was going to happen. But yeah, and I say that very much what I would like to have seen more Fennec, because Ming-Na Wen is just.
I totally think she was robbed. I've been a huge Ming-Na Wen fan since she was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I watched when I was like super young, and I thought she was phenomenal in that. So when she got cast in the Star Wars franchise, I was so excited, and I think we're going to see a lot more of her, whether it's in Bad Batch animated style or showing up in Mandalorian, or if we do get a Boba Fett season 2. I think we're going to see a lot more of her, because she's an amazing character. But up until we got that final scene where she killed everyone in that room, I was thinking to myself, I was like, we haven't seen her. She's such a badass. We haven't seen her. We haven't seen what she's capable of. We haven't seen her, being Boba's sidekick, and kind of what you just said, Liam, like doing the dirty work. We haven't seen that. And then that scene was awesome, but we should have seen so much more.
Even maybe at the end,
Batmanish.
Yeah. It did. Do you know, now you say it absolutely did.
It's like, I know, it's like, it just, as soon as I saw that, it reminded me of just playing a game on Arkham Asylum, just taking out these guys like silently, and that's exactly what he was doing, what she was doing, sorry. And she was just building this fear in the other people that was in the room, and the guy that's left just holding the gun, and he sees the Ithorian that's just been hung. He's like, I don't even want to be in a situation where he's feeling that amount of fear. And I was like, she's Batman right there. That's what that is to me.
Even like the audience, though, I think we were all kind of like, who's doing that? Like, who is that? I mean, I was kind of expecting another character reveal. I'm happy it wasn't. But even everyone watching it, you're like, who's just killing everyone in this room so quietly and mercilessly?
Do you know, one thing for me as well with that is, and I think we have to go back to Mando season 2, and there's, James, you may know more of this with your kind of, when you've done like the planets and stuff like that, but in Mando season 2, where they bring up the world map and they show you like Mos Espa, Mos Eisley, and then Mos Pelego, and they seem pretty far apart because Tatooine seems a big world. And then she kind of travels in very little time from Mos Espa to Mos Eisley, because that's where they are. And I don't know, like that was something that kind of, I always kind of noticed stupid little things like that, but I was like, yeah, how did she get that quick? But at the same time, maybe she got the speeder to a ship and flew over or what. But yeah, that was one thing that stood out for me. But does anybody know how far the two are?
It's not Mos Pelego anymore. It's Freetown.
Freetown. Sorry.
Thank you.
I dead named it. I'm really sorry. Sorry. But yeah, I think like overall, I think the series was great. Interestingly, like the question it's been touched upon, like, do we get a season 2? I don't think so. I think what we've done is, personally, I think we've established who these characters are. We've brought Boba Fett back and what his place is in the galaxy, so that it can be tapped into, a bit like what they've done with Luke. Like Luke, I don't think will ever get his own series, and I think it'll be very difficult to give him his own series, maybe for a long time. But I do think
That's what
Boba will be.
is.
But I think
Jedi is a Luke series.
Okay. If you're right, you're right, and I will do a video and say, okay, Ellie was right. There you go. But yeah, I think that was what it is, and I think what there you will get then Fennec and Boba called in to other people's stories, because that's what it's going to be. It's more like the story of the galaxy, and then kind of relevant to that person. That's what I think. But happy to correct it if anybody. Do people want a season 2?
I do.
I know Will's workshop. So if you do, how would you do season 2 different? Now all the pieces are in place. We know who Boba is. We know what we have that context. What would you make season 2 about?
I think now that all the pieces are in place, we can kind of get back to what all of us have said is
Renaissance music.
You said Leo's most viral TikTok's going to be him saying Ellie was right, and I agree. But getting back to like the true dirty crime stuff, Boba being a crime lord controlling the territory, I would really like to see that. And I started the series by saying I don't want a season 2, but I don't think I'd be mad if I got one, because I do like the characters that they developed that probably would go into a season 2, as long as it really does focus on Boba and the territory. I would be happy with it.
And Crimson Dawn, Kira. I mean, that would probably be the obvious one.
Well, obviously, I want Kira on everything.
Because you bought all of the Kiras in the United States of America.
We're going to get to this, but I have...
She brought receipts.
And I have all my Kira figs sitting right here, but unrelated.
Okay. So, okay, cool. So we'll move on to kind of that general topic around kind of how... Because we've all got slightly different niches. Some of us are a little bit closer, particularly kind of Ellie, Padawan Archer, with like the Lego side of it. But we've all got very different views on Lego as well, and different views. But kind of how has the Book of Boba Fett affected our niche? So I would kind of say with Ellie, as she's brought her receipts there, like how has it affected Lego, kind of the Lego reselling market, as she is our resident bricklinker? John and Erin, just kind of how has it generally affected? I don't know if you don't have any sets. I don't know if there are any sets that you guys don't have, because like you have, especially Tatooine sets, because you guys created that video with the table of like, show me your favorite Tatooine sets.
Tatooine.
James, obviously two main ones, but like general lore, and you've been kind of delving deeper into that. But then also, I know you love your lightsaber props as well. We did only see one lightsaber, I think, off the top of my head, but never mind. And it was an existing one. And then Chloe, a big one, would be kind of cosplay inside of it as well. And kind of, I know you have all your plushies, and I know you collect Lego, but do you do Funkos as well?
Yeah, Funkos, Lego. I'm not like, I don't know a lot about it like you guys, but I do have bits. But yeah.
Chloe, I'm going to need a Madame Garza cosplay soon.
Thank you. I'm glad you said it, not me.
Okay, everyone was calling like the space MILF from the bar.
I've never been asked that before, but I'll add it to the list.
Has anybody seen a Madame Garza cosplay yet?
One of the really big girls who does cosplay, she said that she's working on one. Her name is the Slay Yes.
Slay
is
Yes.
what we're talking
Slay
about?
That's Mac.
Yeah.
It's Mac's
Oh.
favorite girl, isn't it?
Max girl, yeah.
Yeah.
He's in all of her comments. She like posted in one of her comment sections that she's working on one, and I'm really excited to see what it turns out like because
I saw a crazy one. Jennifer Beals did one. She was crazy. I think she was in the show too.
Jennifer Beal was.
Yeah, she's the lady that plays her.
yeah.
Be quiet.
Oh,
No,
okay.
You're not
joking.
funny.
But like, the thing is with those sort of cosplays, the amount of time that takes for all like the pain and I'm a bit lazy. I'll be honest when it comes to cosplay. I could not do that, but yeah.
Fair. Have they released any Funkos yet? Because there was previously a Grogu with the armor, right? That already existed pre-show.
Did it?
Apparently so.
I'm
Someone
not
commented on.
What,
No.
like a plushie type thing?
No, a Funko with him wearing armor and then like chainmail.
I've not seen that.
Somebody had said that they believe that that's what he was going to get because the Funko was up. But I don't know how old the Funko is either. Ellie, I think this one's for you.
Oh God. I have him
Oh, it's
sitting
for
right
me.
here.
Oh, it's for me. Oh, yeah.
We'll be talking about him. Obviously, there's been a lot of like TikTok discourse about Max Rebo and his legs and his knees. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, why not?
All right, I'm
You
just
said penis like 17 times, so yeah.
Yeah, but penis is a body, like a body part. You can say penis. Like
Jizz is a galactic style of music, though, Chloe.
Exactly.
I'll let you
They
know
could have called
tomorrow.
it jazz.
They could have, indeed. Maybe it's like jazz with an accent. Maybe it's
Someone
that kind of
commented on one of my videos, I love jizz, but it went into the approved review for like review comments for approval. They're talking about the music.
Did you approve it?
Of course I approved it.
Of course. James, from a kind of a law perspective, I suppose the bigger part of us was what we learned about the law was more the Tuscan side, right? That's kind of we learned so much about them.
Yeah.
But did anything really stand out for you where it's made you think different about kind of the Star Wars galaxy? John, I'll probably bring you in here as well because I know you're a big comic book fan as well.
Go ahead, James.
Yeah, so I mean, nothing really exceeded expectations. Everything I saw was pretty much exactly what I would expect, especially when we're looking at the Tusken Raiders. They're a very, very territorial people. They have a very rich history with Tatooine, and you know, they've just got a grudge against everybody that's coming into what they believe is their territory, so they're very hostile. So that was right on the nose. Taking people hostage and prisoner was very well Attack of the Clonesy. So we got that straight off the bat. It just was everything I expected. They are a very honorable race, native species of Tatooine that we don't really see a lot of. But when we finally get to see that with Boba Fett, and of course it's going to be Boba that gets their respect, they will welcome you into their own, and they will protect you at all costs. They're a very, very honorable yet mystery shrouding of what everybody thinks that they're some kind of a savage race when really not. They're actually very smart and intelligent.
So interestingly, and I don't want to get political, but one thing I saw towards the end, certainly after the end, is I saw a lot of people commenting about what the one thing they really enjoyed, especially compared to some of the Marvel stuff, is how unpolitical it was and how it was what it was, and it didn't try and kind of preach of anything. But I really took that as a metaphor for Native Americans. And how, especially through kind of Western media in the kind of the 50s and 60s, they were very much portrayed as the savages and all of that. And then, you know, now we're kind of relearning everything we know about them. So I took it as that, but I suppose it wasn't as gung-ho in your face about it. One, because it's a totally different universe and like fantasy, not fiction and all that. But yeah, I think that stood out to me and that's how I read it. But I suppose it is what you want it to be if you want it to be that as well.
Liam, you know that's my niche, politics for James and Chloe. I'm like studying politics and I work in politics, and I love it. My life revolves around it. And people always comment on my videos, stop making Star Wars political. And I'm like, Star Wars is more inherently political than, not to talk about specific issues, but Marvel. And it goes back to the Vietnam War, and everything that you're watching is, because if you think of Star Wars as its own world, everything is going to be political, because everything that happens in a world like ours is political. So everything that happens in Star Wars is going to be a metaphor. And I completely agree, Liam. It totally was a metaphor for not even just Native Americans, but indigenous populations everywhere. And
indeed.
then Tamura Morrison being, I think he's from New Zealand, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And he's also indigenous. It's totally a political message behind there. And people are always going to say, no, don't bring that up. But it's there.
By the way, on his point as well, because I love the New Zealand accent, especially the indigenous, like because they're slightly different, and like they're the more Maori accent. But now that it's not Tatooine, it's Tatooine. I love Tatooine. Tatooine is so much better than
just
Tatooine.
a twat in Paxton. I'm trying to say that Tatooine, but yeah, I got it now. Okay, I'm gonna shut up now.
So I'm gonna piggyback off Ellie a bit. I agree, like the indigenous. The biggest standout to me was the train episode. I think it's chapter 3 when the train was coming through. I mean, that's just an old cowboy movie right there. You know,
Exactly.
You got your Tusken Raiders as your Native Americans, and then you got your, your manifest destiny people on the train. And they're just trying to encroach on people's land, and it's just like, well, there you go. You don't get too much more, blatant with the painted coat on it. It was great though. I think it was a great I wouldn't call it metaphor, but kind of more modern day example of what really happened, with all the Tuscans getting wiped out. So it was good. It was really good in that aspect.
I recently rewatched episode 1, and that's obviously when you're introduced. Is it when you're introduced to the Tusken Raiders, or are they in?
Yeah. It's kind of pretty quick, isn't it? They take him hostage because the Jawas strip him first, and then...
Yeah, but no. Episode 1, the
movie. Bill.
Oh, episode 4. No,
I'm talking about Phantom Menace.
Yeah, you see the pod racers.
Well, they were in episode 4.
Yeah,
were they?
Okay. Yeah, because
at the very beginning. But
some people are easily scared, but they're returning numbers.
Yeah, when the pod race is going on, you see them throwing stuff and
they shoot,
attacking, and
but
that's all you get. You don't get anything really past that, and it's just like they're trying to disrupt everybody's happiness. And I'm really happy we got a bigger story and a bigger perspective on them.
Do you know what the moral of that story is, though, Ellie? Regardless of anybody's troubles, regardless of anybody's history and their legacy or whatever their culture is, there's always a dick.
There's always a dick.
There's always the one who goes and shoots the pod racers. Do you know? So, yeah, there you go. But yeah, it was. I think everybody hated it, especially if Attack of the Clones. Everybody was like really happy about Tuskens getting slaughtered and stuff. But I think if anything, it really kind of built some love for them, for those guys. Ellie, and again, Padawan Archer on this one, but again from different perspectives. But I'll let you guys talk it out. But I mean, John, Erin, if you can get in behind Ellie's list, good luck. But how has Lego been kind of affected? And Ellie, I'll let you take the minifig side of it, but John and Erin, I'll let you kind of take the set side of it. What have you seen? Is there any kind of sets that you've particularly pursued and you haven't been able to find, or you found that they've kind of spiraled in costs? Fight it out amongst yourselves. Who goes first? Ellie's already took the lead.
Please, Ellie, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I didn't do any research on the sets. That's kind of out of my domain. In terms of like sets to come, though, I will preface this by saying we are getting a Cad Bane starship that will be based off Bad Batch. So Cad Bane minifigure will be coming back. So don't buy a Cad Bane minifig. I'll talk about the price of that. And then I had a prediction that we were going to get a Boba riding the Rancor set in June. It was going to be $60, about 400 pieces. I'm going to make a video on this, but I'm going to backtrack that and say that I think it's going to be a Fennec helmet set.
Okay.
400
That'd be
pieces
really cool.
for $60. That's a helmet. Fennec has a very distinct helmet that I think Lego would be stupid not to talk about. All right, minifigs. because some of these are actually insane. Obviously, a little Max Rebo here without the wings. In August, October, you're looking at about $40, which is a lot of money. This is all US. You're looking at about $40 to $50. In February, he sold for between $55 and $75. And if you want a Max Rebo right now, there's only about 20 on the market, and you have to pay over $100 unless you live in like not a country any of us live in.
Wow, that's
even
insane.
better. So Bosk, I have him written down as well. He didn't show up, but I think a lot of people predicted he was going to show up.
Yeah.
Last September, there's 2 minifigures. He was kind of between, like one of them was 10 used, 14 new, 14 used, 19 new. So kind of mid-range for a minifigure. In February, the prices only increased about $3 or $4 each. So people were buying up all the available stock. But right now, if you want to buy a Bosk, you're going to have to drop at least $20 to $25 on every minifigure. And that's because there aren't a lot on the market because everyone bought them up.
However, I don't know if it's true there, but here, that's true. The fig sells for around £10 to £15, but the Bounty Hunter Speeder Bike set as a whole, complete with the figs, sells for around £20 to £25 because nobody's looking for the set. Everybody's looking for the fig, and it's easier to do that.
Yeah, that happens a lot. Like with the Gungan sub, this is off topic, but the Queen Amidala comes in, a $150 fig. You can buy the Gungan sub for like $200, and you get Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan. I think you also get a Jar Jar and the Gungan sub for like only $50 more. So always look at the set if you're looking for figs. So Cad Bane had a spike. He had 2 spikes. He had one when Bad Batch came out, but he had another one, obviously, in February. So in March of last year, he was selling for about $15. Pretty good. In August, so after Bad Batch, he was selling for about $30.
I feel like we need a spreadsheet and a chart here.
I have it all written down. I was thinking about making a chart, but I don't have that kind of time. In February, so this month, if you wanted to buy him, you were looking at about $40. Now, if you want to buy a Cad Bane, you're looking at $60.
Oh my God.
So from March to now, so about 11 months, it has tripled the price.
That's insane.
It's crazy.
Welcome to the world of Lego minifigures, Chloe. It's ridiculous.
I don't know anything about this, so I'm here like, are you kidding me? Wow. I'm not used to this. It's crazy.
What will be interesting as well is obviously, as you said, Ellie, don't go and buy a Cad Bane figure right now because 1, it's so right up there in price, and 2, we expect to get another fig. However, the second Cad Bane fig that we got is not as good as the first one, the one with the detachable breathing apparatus. Like that's the one that everybody wants. That's the one that spikes in price. So if they make that mistake again, what typically happens is it further drives prices up because people are like, that sucks, I want that one. And again, it'll just go pew.
Or even just the breathing tubes might go up.
Yeah.
Like that individual tiny little silver piece that weighs nothing might skyrocket. Other notable Rancor. Liam, we know you have one. You don't need to tell us. In September, you were looking used $60, new $90. So not cheap. No. This little plastic Rancor was expensive. In February, they sold between $115 and $125. Right now, their market is about $170.
Wow.
Liam's about to go get it.
I was going to say Liam's so shocked he walked away, but no.
Did you get it? Yeah, that.
Wow.
After this stream, I'm going to just go to the casino and I'm just going to put that on red.
Slam that on the table.
Let it roll, baby.
Yeah. There wasn't really any. Obviously, I bought all of the Kira figs, not only because I love her, but I thought she might show up. She only increased about $1 per fig. So not a lot of people were super confident in that theory. I also had theories about the armor and Paz Vizsla, but they're currently in a set you can buy. They didn't increase at all. So, but I'm glad you brought this up, Liam. You DM me. The
Whoa.
my DMs. The Pike from Solo. I don't want to mispronounce his name, but it's Key Tolsite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Pike from Solo. So he was in November 2021, so a month before Book of Boba Fett came out. He was between $26 to $30. In February, he sold for between $50 and $65. And right now, if you want a Pike minifigure, you're going to be spending about $80 to $90 just for that one Pike mold. So
it's the Dark Troopers all over again.
It's the Dark Troopers.
Because a Pike battle pack is surely a thing. Given how many Pikes we saw, surely a battle pack or a scene with them is going to be a thing where you get at least 3 of those guys. Oh, John's flexing now.
Yeah. So you're telling me to sell now, Ellie? Sell now?
Honestly, if you're there aren't many on the market right now, especially if he's in good condition. You could list him for about $70, and I mean, you made back half your money on that Millennium Falcon.
I mean, yeah. Is it just this piece? His headpiece right here?
It's the whole fig, but it's that headpiece that people are after. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Did the Boba Fett that came in the UCS Slave 1, did that go up at all? The arm printing Boba Fett?
I don't think so. I didn't look at any.
Somewhat regular though, doesn't he?
Yeah,
I think
he's
always on just like an upward trajectory.
Okay.
But yeah.
I actually don't know what specific Boba Fett it is. Let me look it up.
But yeah.
That's my spiel.
John,
I obviously did my homework, Liam. You're welcome.
You did indeed. Well done.
I'm impressed. I want to see this all on a graph and like, it'd be so satisfying.
This has become my side hustle, just selling Lego and investing in these minifigures. I'm earning a decent amount of money off it, doing it as my side hustle. So for anyone watching.
So out of curiosity though, so on Bricklink, I know you can flag something as a custom, but do you flag, like say if you've got like 10 of a figure, and then will you flag that this one has been in my back pocket or this one has been in my cleavage? Or...
Yeah, you get extra for that.
It's been asked. Epic Bricks, Nate, he one time told me something like you can't.
I thought he was going to say he asked.
He made an offer.
No. He one time said something along the lines of like, you can't mess with an item and then sell it. It's against Bricklink policies. And I'm assuming being like, this one is more expensive because it's touched my ass. I think that might be considered messing with it.
Well,
I've had requests. I've had requests.
I saw do you know, it was, I don't know how this video landed on my page, but here we go. That's just that's the disclaimer there. But it was technically Lego talk, but it was like a guy. So it was a girl who was somewhat dominant with her boyfriend who was less dominant. And they used the sound. Do you know that sound where it was like, welcome to Dave and Buster's? But then it did like loads. It was the voice did like loads of different sounds. And then he was like, get down on the floor. I'm going to pee on you. And then it then cut to a video, like it cut to, rather than it being him, it was a Lego minifigure. And I think it was just water like pouring on. But the comments were flooded with like offers. Not even like, can I buy that off you? Can I do this? It was like $100 right now. This I'll do 150. So there's definitely a market for sussy Lego figures, that's for sure.
I'm sure that Chloe's Instagram DMs might look similar, but sometimes I get stuff and I'm like, I'm in the wrong business.
I mean, I'm trying to sell my used thigh highs, my staple thigh high like PVC stockings. I bought a new pair recently, and I'm thinking of selling my old pair, but I haven't yet because I'm like, it's really gross. They do smell quite bad. Like, I'll be
That's what
honest,
they
guys.
want. They want
I
ones that
feel like that's a positive thing. All right, do I see £10? Do I have £10? Anybody with £10?
So they might end up on eBay or Depop sometimes. Keep your eyes out. That's all I'm saying.
Well, how did we end up here? Never mind. There we go. There we go. Yeah, John, Erin, did you guys pursue any Lego sets, or did you kind of notice anything in the Lego set side of it on the back of Book of Boba Fett, or are you guys just Tatooined out?
I gotta say, the only thing that I could considerably tell was this Boba Fett helmet was a lot harder to find, especially at Target and Walmart, at least in America. I didn't think I saw one while Boba Fett was coming out. But surprisingly, Aaron pointed out, the Slave One, or the Boba Fett starship, was pretty well stocked. I'm not gonna lie. There was always at least 3 at a Target, you know. On the set side, since there's not too much out with Boba Fett on it, I wouldn't say too much changed. I would imagine the light cruiser sold a little bit more just for Fennec Shan, but even then, you know, not too much.
And it's retiring this year as well, apparently.
The light cruisers?
Yeah.
all the Mandalorian sets.
Oh,
But
finally.
they're keeping the AT-AT though, weirdly. The 2021.
They kept that ATST, the Mando ATST, out for like 10 years now. So, I mean, I guess it makes sense.
And then Cara Dune, or what's her name, got fired, quit, whatever. And then everybody went and bought it thinking, yes. And then they released that figure again in the cruiser. Like, shit.
I just recently, I could not get that figure out of my Bricklink stock because it was the average right now that it sells for is like $10, but no one will buy it. Like a lot of people on the list, no one will buy it. I put it on sale, 50% off. I was like $4, and someone eventually snatched it up. But no one's buying that figure, even for retail.
Nobody cared about that set. Nobody cared about that figure. Like it was just because of what happened. Everybody thought, and it probably at the right timing when everybody got into Lego investing and all of that. But yeah.
But also to the light cruiser point, that's probably the only set we'll get Fennec with the helmet, because in Jabba's palace she doesn't have a helmet. She has a hairpiece. So
that hairpiece is so weird too. That does not fit Ming-Na Wen at all.
Yeah, it's a weirder hairpiece. So if you want Fennec with a helmet.
But you have to remember, and I said this earlier, the Jabba's, the Boba Fett's palace set is Mando season 2. Like none of these are Book of Boba Fett sets yet. So we'll see what comes out with that in time.
Do you think we'll get a Rancor pit with Danny Trejo as a
No,
Rancor keeper? No,
I really think we'll get a brick built Rancor, and I wouldn't be surprised, to Ellie's point, if they did it where it came with a Boba minifig, where he's riding it. I think that'll happen. Yeah. I feel like they'll find a way of putting the jetpack on him as well with a clip, so you can put the or he'll have his gaffy stick and Mando will have the Beskar spear.
Yeah, even though it doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, any other sets, John, Erin, that caught your eye that you thought,
Just some of the older Slave ones, the 2010 Slave one went up a lot on reselling markets, probably just because the people who got that set are nostalgic for it now, and since they saw it in the one episode, I saw it jump up.
The one with the clone trooper in the corner of the box.
Yes, and that's the one with the Bosk figure too. That one
probably just as well as that though. I think it's probably the most accessible set to get because it's not overly expensive compared to the 20th anniversary or the UCS one.
Right. I saw that one jump, at least on Facebook Marketplace and eBay, at least $20 during the course of Book of Boba Fett, and there was still, a decent amount of listings, I think 3 or 4. So
the minifigure, the Boba minifigure from that set, you asked about it, John. It's currently, so it was going for about $100. Now it's currently $130 to $180. So it has gone up. That arm printing Boba.
Sick. Thank you. For killing my dreams. Thank you.
Yeah, I should have bought it earlier. Sorry.
Yeah.
Nice. So, change of pace. Do this bit of a different one, but very specific question. But if you could create one spin-off piece of media based on any character that we saw over the Book of Boba Fett, which character would it be and what media would it be? So that media could be anything. It could be a TV show, it could be an animated series, it could be a bit like Visions, it could be a movie, it could be a comic book, it could be a game, it could literally be anything you could think of. So I've kind of sprung that upon you. So if I'll give you kind of a couple of seconds for anybody to shout out anyone that they have. If not, I'll share mine.
Jack saying Max Rebo and Space MILF.
So actually, Jack and I are two alike on this, but mine would definitely be Madame Garce's OnlyFans account.
I was going to say her. I forgot that. Like, I didn't think of OnlyFans, but that is.
I don't know if OnlyFans exists. Surely a form of OnlyFans exists within the Star Wars universe.
Opie-Fans?
Kind of
OnlyFans.
I need to buy that .com just to secure it, just in case. But, yeah.
I mean, porn does exist in Star Wars.
It does. I knew you,
So-
James. I knew
You-
you.
Yeah,
Maybe.
it does. So
Think of like a new business outlet, like making a Star Wars themed OnlyFans. Oh, anyway.
I reckon that exists.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
It
If
absolutely
it does, can someone like drop me the link so I can sign up?
Do you want the male creators, Chloe, or do you want the female creators?
No, I want to post myself and get that cash.
Oh, well, there you go. Someone just dropped the link to OnlyFans to. There you go. So, yeah.
90s sitcom set in Sanctuary. Nice.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. Anybody want to wade in? Anybody thought of any?
We need a Bounty Hunter 2 game, but with Book of Boba Fett instead of Jango Fett. I think that'd be pretty cool. Or
That would be
1313 to be finished.
I was literally about to say that if they could just revive 1313, that would
Yeah.
just like I remember seeing the gameplay to that, and I was just blown away
Right.
by that. It was just it was just so refreshing for once actually to have it, because I think during that period you had nothing but lightsaber, and maybe a pod racer game. But it was just such a nice change of pace to just be a bounty hunter with a blaster, and I thought that looks sick. But they cancelled it, so just
All right.
snatched that away from us.
Was that PC only, that game?
No, that's going to come out to everything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was all based on everything, but it was just so good because it was like a depth of Coruscant that you would never explore before. And the reason why it was called 1313 is because you have to go down level 1313, where the lower you go, the more chaotic in crime is. And I just couldn't wait to play that, but horrendously they took it from us.
When was that supposed to come out?
2011 or 12, right? Right before or after the Lucasfilm acquisition?
I've never heard of this.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I couldn't give you the exact date, but yeah, about that.
It was one of the first things Lucasfilm cut besides Detours and the Clone Wars. So
It is actually amazing how, for such a strong and iconic franchise like Star Wars, how much stuff that people really want is cut. Like, just like, yeah, we've got this great idea, and like it almost fills us with a dread whenever, like, especially at the minute where we're getting all of these TV shows and films, and well, not films, but TV shows, and then games getting announced. And then, like, it's like, yeah, we're probably not going to do Rangers of the New Republic. I saw Acolyte as potentially.
Someone said that in your live, Liam.
I hope that's not true, because that's the one I'm really looking forward to. Like, I really want a Sith-led story.
I don't think Lando's coming to fruition either. I don't think they're going to get Donald Glover for a series.
And what is Donald Glover doing, though?
He's Donald Glover, man.
Well, this is true. That's fair enough.
Being a legend, that's what he's doing.
It's fair.
I feel like that show with Lando is going to work really well with Glover, because if you can get him and Billy D. Williams, you can have that. I mean, Harvey, who's in the live right now, he said this, and I completely agree with him. How you're going to have Billy D. Williams sat at some campfire telling a story of the good old days, and then it cuts back to Glover being him and, you know, doing what he's describing in the story. I think that would have been a beautiful telling of Lando and, you know, catching up to the present time.
I just hope it actually happens. There's no movement on most of these shows, so
It just looks like Acolyte's been delayed from starting filming in February until this summer. So not
Okay.
canceled, just delayed.
We can live for that. We
Yeah.
can live for that. Fair enough. Chloe, what would your spin-off media be sparked from the Book of Boba Fett?
Well, I agree with Jack. Space MILF, as he so lovely put it. I really, even though, like, I don't know, she's just iconic, and I think everyone loves her. So I don't know. I'm not great.
And the
at
Sanctuary is almost like, the Mos Eisley Cantina was like the hive of wretched scum and villainy, whereas the Sanctuary was more like where the crime lords went. Like that's where the people who gave the orders frequented in there. It would make a great story around kind of watching people come and go.
Maybe not a series, maybe like a short story, one episode type thing, or I don't know, something. I can't Jack, for goodness sake.
If you had something that was like Criminal Minds, or a lot of these like crime shows where you have like each episode's a different kind of crime boss.
Oh yeah, that'd be good. Yeah,
they're kind of telling their story in was it called The Sanctuary? I totally missed that in the show. I did not know it was called.
Or like a Star Wars Columbo that comes in. Just one more thing.
But yeah, you have like a weird, like each episode's a different story of someone who comes into that area. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
No,
yeah, I'm feeling that.
Ellie, what would yours be? You can't claim that one because that wasn't yours.
No, I know. I've been racking my brain.
Max Rebo on tour.
That would be so boring.
You could just do a Max Rebo album. I said any media, so you could just have a Max Rebo album or best of Max Rebo.
I think I kind of created a monster when I bought the Max Rebo fig and started making content with it, because I just bought it because I thought it was cute.
It's very cute, to be fair.
And then I put little wings on it because I'm me. And that's a funny comment.
To be clear, porn is in PAWN. Just to be clear.
But now I think a lot of people associate Max Rebo with me, whereas he's adorable. I don't know. My first thought was, I'm not a super big comic person, and I know that I've read a lot of like the Dr. Aphra stuff, so that's how I know Black Chrysanthemum. But maybe like an origin story. I don't know if that ever exists in the comics.
I don't think it does.
Max Rebo?
No, Black Chrysanthemum. Or what were they calling him in the show? Starts with an S.
Santi.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't think it does, because the earliest that I know, and I'm happy to be corrected, but I think we'll see Black Chrysanthemum in the Kenobi series.
Yeah.
But there is the story where Vader hires both Boba and Black Chrysanthemum and sends them on kind of different missions, and essentially Black Chrysanthemum then encounters Kenobi, and that's how he gets his scar on his eye. What's interesting is, though, and somebody was saying this in my live earlier on, and I don't want to kind of deviate too much from Book of Boba Fett, but kind of it's connected, so, through Black Chrysanthemum. But do we want to see things that are depicted elsewhere in canon? And they referred to the Maul Kenobi Rebels scene. Do we want to see that replicated in live action? My answer was no, but that would be the thing. Would you do it with the comics? Because it feels like if you're going to do it with the comics, it's probably going to retcon it in some way. It'll change it somewhat, but I don't feel like they'll do that, because that Star Wars series is such an iconic series. It's a kind of big part of the general narrative now of Star Wars.
Yeah, I would rather not see stuff remade in live action or remade in the comics. I like that everything is their own story. If you want to piece it together, like if you want extra context on Santo, Black Chrysanthemum, whatever, you have to go to the comics to read it, which is I mean, I had a little bit of context, but then I went on and I kind of read a little bit more. And I kind of like that you have options of what kind of media you want to consume.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if a lot of this is overlapped, like you said, you're going to have to retcon a lot. You're going to have to, there's going to be changes that people are going to find, even if they're not intentional, and it's going to mess with stuff.
Yeah. Indeed. I'll tell you what, one thing I noticed, so I went to London this week, went down on the train, 3 hours there, 3 hours back. So I downloaded the whole series, having already watched the full series, and re-watched it all. I found it so much easier to watch when you were kind of jumping from episode to episode, and you had that continuity. But I don't know how I noticed this, and I saw it commented throughout. Who had the kind of the iconic ass in Book of Boba Fett? Because there were, like, at some point people were calling the Gaborians like had a nice ass. Black Chrysanthemum certainly had a very shapely ass. Like, whose ass stands out for you from the Book of Boba Fett? Open floor.
Ellie, you have a new video idea now. Just put Boba Fett.
Oh my god, I have a very big content creator in my DMs asking me to put Boba Fett in my back pocket. I'm not gonna tell you guys who it is.
Name them.
No,
Name them.
my DMs are a secret. Anyways, you just really caught me off guard, Liam, with the.
Is it the person who followed you earlier?
No.
Okay.
They're married.
Well,
Is
I nearly said so am I, but that wouldn't have shown me in a very good light, and that's not what I was trying to
Yes,
say.
Liam.
Yeah. I just mean some people are married and don't give a shit about it.
Yeah.
I think Captain America will always have the most iconic ass no matter what, so I can't answer. I'm sorry.
That's true.
But John, that's
Yes,
science fiction. This is science fantasy.
that's true. That's true. I'm gonna have to go with Chris Evans on this one.
Okay, fair enough.
I really think it's the Gamorreans. They were
Wow.
they were thick. And they were wearing a little cloth. Like, you couldn't not notice it, you know? I wouldn't say that I ever noticed Black Chrysanthemum's ass.
Well, that probably says more about me. But never mind. It was just a general ponder. There was somebody else, and I can't remember. But again, they were male. I don't feel like it might have been Boba. That was a Boba.
Yeah,
anyway,
I think it
let's
was
move.
Boba. Isn't he naked when Black Chrysanthemum pulls him out, or doesn't he have that loincloth on?
Yeah, he like lifted him up, and then they
But
had
then there's the weird.
they had the
toe
awkward
moment.
scene.
Did anybody notice the toe?
It was like
No.
all weird. It was disgusting.
So Black Chrysanthemum is like obviously choking Boba out when he rips him out of the back to tank, and it cuts down to show you that Boba is kind of lifted off the floor, and if that's kind of Boba's foot, his big toe
Whoa.
curled, like
It was
it's
like
really
this.
weird.
It was so gross.
I'm gonna have to Google this.
Careful what you do.
Show me this man's foot.
Tamara Morrison foot.
But yeah, it was just it was weird. It was an odd moment. That's for sure. I don't know what he was trying to recreate there, but yeah, it's bent out.
Maybe he just put it in for those people that like that kind of weird angle.
I don't think he's thinking about the toe fetish people there, Aaron.
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
What if we put in a toe just to have a toe in?
The caption says, "I like." I like how Black Chrysanthemum broke Boba Fett's big toe, and it's literally like it's like a right angle, like
Yeah.
oh. I didn't
wish I
know
prepared
that,
that.
and I wish I never had. To be honest, I wish you never told me about that because that is disgusting.
Well, now you do. You'll never be able to watch that again. You'll never be able to watch it again.
God.
Oh, never mind. On a kind of, I'm always keen to kind of promote the positivity side of things and all that, but at the same time, I think it's important to talk about kind of like what didn't go so well, but in the narrative of like what would you have done different? So I kind of, again, a bit of an open floor, but if there was one thing you could have really changed about the Book of Boba Fett, what would that have been? Again, come in as you wish.
I
I
wish
think
the Boba Fett we saw in Mando, I wish he kind of carried over a little bit more. I mean, how savage or like brutally he killed those stormtroopers and then just gunned down Bib Fortuna in cold blood. Sometimes I wish we saw that. I understand character development, but I mean, we see Mando Boba after he's been with the Tuskens, after he's got his gaffy stick and stuff. So just a little bit more continuity between the two, I guess, would be my biggest gripe with the show.
Yeah, it's like Boba's this badass bounty hunter, and like he was missing that edge that like makes me more like drawn to his character. And I wish he got to do more like badass things as Boba Fett.
I think I definitely give that a bit of thought, and my take on that would be is it's all about situation and opportunity. So in Mando season 2, there was kind of asses to be kicked, whereas certainly early in the Book of Boba Fett, they didn't present that, but they could have done that. And I agree. I think they didn't need to kind of add much, but I think just spending a little more time on current Boba would have allowed them to show that he's still like a bit of a hard case and could he could enforce when he needed to enforce.
Right.
Anyone? James, Ellie, Chloe?
I think given what we did get, I enjoyed it, but it was like recently announced that the Ahsoka series is going to have the same director the entire way through.
Oh.
Yeah.
And while I think that Bryce Dallas Howard and Dave Filoni are obviously amazing directors in Star Wars and kind of The Mandalorian, maybe it would have been a little bit better if it was just the same director all throughout. Just one coherent vision. I know it was all produced by the same person, written pretty much by the same team. But that could have kind of given just the tiny little gaps that people have problems with. They're tiny little, like, I don't know. Just something I've been, ever since that Ahsoka thing was announced, something I've been thinking about.
So Robert Rodriguez is directing all of Ahsoka?
I thought it was a woman.
Yeah, I thought it was a woman.
Deborah Chow? I know
Deborah Chow. Yeah.
Movie, so I didn't know if she's going to do
I thought it was Deborah Chow.
I think it is.
Okay. She's a pretty good director. I thought you guys were talking about Robert Rodriguez, the guy who did the majority of Boba Fett, and I thought those episodes were kind of flat, so I wasn't as hyped.
I saw it on Reddit this morning. Yeah, I think it's Deborah Chow is doing all of Ahsoka.
Okay, cool.
And obviously Ahsoka hasn't come out yet, so I'm just kind of speaking into a void. But I kind of think that maybe that will make a story a little bit more succinct, because you just have so many like competing visions and competing ideas for Star Wars. Not all of them are bad. Most of them are really good. Just sometimes when you're watching a show, you want a little bit more coherence.
Same problem with the sequels, right? I mean, you switch up director midway through, you get a weird end product.
The sequels are a different thing.
I think that the main difference there, though, is that it wasn't just the director, it was the writing as well, right? Like everything changed. Whereas at least with these, and even the Mandalorian, the story is written. Kind of John Favreau oversees all of that, and then it's kind of okay. We want this episode to be this, and I really like that. Actually, personally, I like that they identify the differences in the episode. So, like who else was going to direct the Western episode with Cad Bane coming in? Like, it was never going to be anybody else but Filoni. And I'm not, by no means am I an expert on what directors suit what, but I feel like that certainly makes sense to kind of say, okay, we want to develop this a bit more, and we go with that. But yeah, it's that would just be kind of my thought on it. Is almost you end up with a singular type of narrative throughout, and so depending on the story you're trying to tell, that could struggle by having a single director and a single writer in a series. But we'll see. James, Chloe?
James, you go.
I'm sort of excited for the future of it. I mean, it's like what we're saying about a linear sort of director going forward, yeah, I do agree with you there, OP. I think it's just one of those things where we are just sort of struggling to find where it's going to go from the future. I feel like the story that we had was pretty solid in its own right, but I think I was just more or less happy with what I had. I pretty much did like. I was expecting Boba to be a little bit more aggressive with when he was taking over, but I do sort of understand why he wouldn't, considering he had that relationship with the Tusken Raiders. How he's developed a friendship and a partnership, and he's thinking maybe I should take what I've learned here and apply it into Tatooine. But at the very same time, would it have been fan service, or would it have been true to Boba about whether or not he, over like 3 episodes long, we see him like take out like the other sort of leaders as such there, whether it's Fennec, going all Batman on them, or if we, see Boba just, use his knee rockets, who knows? But I think either way, I mean, I was happy with what we got, and I know I would have loved the other alternative, and it would have made sense in both ways. I was still happy with that. Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know, on that point, I kind of touched on it in the last point as well, but one thing they could have really emphasized is I think everybody wanted to see more aggression, but the reason that didn't happen is because, and this is me thinking about it offline rather than how it was portrayed. The reason that didn't happen is because there was a plot against him, and his enemies knew an all-out war would always play to the ultimate bounty hunter's strength. So they kind of worked in the shadows. So he had no means to kind of bring things to the street and kind of fight it out, Dukes and Dukes. But I think that's what we didn't see enough of, is the plotting around him, or even the suspicion of it. Even when he invited the 3 heads of the different tribes to the table, it was all very pleasant, and they kind of questioned it at one point, and then they were like, yeah, we can abide by that and cool. And then we didn't get the betrayal until right at the very end. There was no even hint really of that kind of betrayal and him having to kind of stamp his authority. And I think that really, as someone like me who loves that kind of crime lord, gangster style stuff, I really like to have seen that, to have just shown Boba in that role a little bit more. And I think that's probably what was missing, is just that showing Boba and as the enforcer crime lord. So yeah. Chloe?
Yeah, I mean, I like a bad boy. So I like it. If he was a little bit, if we did see a bit more of his tough side, things like that. But again, as you said, you know why it was done in that way. So either way, I'm happy. But yeah, it would have been nice to see that a little bit. Joey's saying same. Seeing the sort of bad side to him, but yeah.
Indeed. Final question from me, and guys, start thinking. I'll open the Q&A in a second if anybody has any kind of open questions they want to throw out. Don't throw them out just yet, because I'll lose them in the chat as you guys go, but I'll kind of give you the nudge to start thinking about that. But my final question is, what will be your kind of lasting memory of the Book of Boba Fett? Like, will it be a particular scene, or like a feeling, or what? Like what, when when we're a year, 2 years, if this is the only series we get, 5, 10 years down the line, what will be your kind of lasting thoughts and memory and standout moment of the Book of Boba Fett? And Chloe, I'm going to come back to you because you were last on that last round.
So me, probably just the excitement when Mando was introduced and knowing that they were going to partner up again. Like, it was I think it's just the excitement of that and the anticipation of what they would do together again. And yeah.
Very nice. John, I'm going to come to you first, then Erin, I'm going to ask you separately, because it feels like we get one answer out of you, so I'm going to get 2 answers out of you. So John, you first.
I think the most lasting moment, excuse me, is kind of going off what Chloe said, but if there's like one scene that stands out in my mind, is when they fly. They both either use their jetpacks and start shooting at all the pikes. I think that always stick out in my mind as a really cool scene. It's probably, what I'll think about when I think of the Book of Boba Fett.
Nice.
See, I'm gonna go like left field here. I think the parallel between Luke's training and Grogu's training will always stick out in my mind. It was just so magical, and it took me back to like a comfort. Like it was almost like watching your comfort movie. Like it brought me home, and it was like Star Wars, and I was like just enthralled in the moment. It was magical.
Love it. Do you know, and that was a real like challenge for me at the time when it was on, because it was such a good visual, the way they even told the story and the reflections, and it was so good. But I was like, I don't want this in the Book of Boba Fett. Like,
I know, I was like, and then they had the same exact backpack that Luke was carrying Yoda in back on Dagobah, and it was like all this other stuff was distracting me from Boba Fett, and I was like, why?
Do you know one thing that I've not seen anybody talk about, but the most wholesome moment in that whole sequence of scenes was when Luke is talking to Grogu about Yoda, and they're walking down the path,
and when he was lifting him up, it was so cute. I was losing it. I'm like, John, this is so cute, and my mic was muted or something, and I was just talking to myself. And I like turned it back and I'm like, John, it's so cute. I can't.
I love that bit. And John, I totally agree with yours, by the way. To get the two of them to come out on the jetpacks was super cool. But what I loved as well is that, you know, they ended up landing and then they were battling, but essentially they became overcome. Like that, you know, they're not building these people as. And I was speaking to Matt Mellish about this, and he was saying, you know, Mando kind of needs a big win soon, and I feel like we're working towards that. But I like that they're not projecting him as he can defeat all enemies. He's certainly the best of kind of a certain, if not the one of the best within his domain, but he has his limitations. And I love that they had that big moment, but then they were kind of beaten down, and then kind of the rest of the crew came to the rescue. So yeah, but I love that it kicked off with that.
Can I interject one more time? I apologize. When they were down and you hear that speeder come in and you see the people come in, I was like, oh, cool, that's cool. I was so hoping we just saw Millennium Falcon just strafe over and we saw Alden Ehrenreich as Han Solo come out. That would have been just,
really?
It would have been like an MCU moment too, where they would have, you know, it would have been awkward for Han and Boba since last time they saw each other. Well, I guess Han he couldn't see, but you know, Boba ended up with a Sarlacc. That would have been great, but
yeah, John's like, Karen, I just want that Millennium Falcon right over. And I was like, it's not gonna happen, John.
No.
I'm sorry to tell you.
No.
I feel like that would have been for the sake of a cameo.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So
fan service is fan services. You know, I'm a fan.
Well,
so
this is true. This is true. I did love the recovery of Black Chrysanthemum at that point as well. When the speeder came around, then he came around and he just picked up one pike and just threw him at the other like a lawn. Yeah, that was pretty cool. James, what is your kind of standout moment, scene, whatever it will be, memory of the Book of Boba Fett?
There's a couple really. I mean, yeah, the jetpack scenes were really cool between Mando and Boba. But yeah, the two specific is going to be with the Scorpenic Annihilator droids, how they were just once a Legends sort of product, and now they've been brought into canon, which I really enjoy. And how the whole figuring out how we're going to get past the shields and all that. And I figured that whole tense build up. I mean, the whole scene, not just the droids. It was. I mean, I was pretty certain Black Chrysanthemum was actually going to die at one point. And I remember feeling like, nah, you can't take him out like that. And I figured that's going to stay with me. I think really a most, not underrated scene, but maybe overlooked. The scene where Boba is having to explain to Fennec why he wants to do it. And it's such a great character development on such Boba's half, because we're seeing someone grow and mature. Well, maybe not mature, but we're seeing him sort of evolve, just getting sick and tired of the game, and this is what I want in life. And he's finally being a little bit selfish about himself, and it's good every once in a while. And him having to say Fennec, and I think that was what will stick out to me, just how they're in the night sky of Tatooine and they're just talking.
Oh, yeah, I love very soon after that when he lets his bantha go, and he's like,
Mm.
go back to the Dune Sea and go and have some baby banthas. I love that bit.
That was
I
so
absolutely
cute.
Yeah, that was cool. Ellie?
I think mine's gonna be, although the Mando episode stood out and the episode with Luke was obviously just awesome for reminiscing. I think that the first thing I think of is the Rancor, Boba riding a Rancor. And then when I think a little bit more about it, it's just general Tatooine and getting to see more of Tatooine in a higher quality, because I guess we saw it in Mando, but this show was just like really focused on Tatooine. And also Boba Fett without his helmet on. I don't know. I think that's one thing that really stood out to me is as you all have been talking, I've been thinking about it, and I've just been thinking, I keep going back to Tamora Morrison without his helmet on, and obviously it's Jango Fett, but I'm a simp. No, but it really humanizes him, and that's one thing I really appreciate about this. Because I don't know if you remember, Liam, but when I was on this podcast last, I was like, I'm not excited for Book of Boba Fett. Like, I couldn't really care less. But I think that it really humanized him for me, and it made him like a character that I cared about, and I appreciate that.
And do you know, that's a really good point as well. And I kind of hadn't really considered it, but when he takes his helmet off, he is very human. He's very considered. But when he had his helmet on, it's almost like old Boba. It's like, I'm ready for battle. Like the lines are drawn. He is where it is, you know? So yeah, I like that kind of distinction. And I think that again is where I keep coming back to just give us a little bit more time with Boba in the current time and show those differences between kind of Boba the human and Boba the enforcer, which would be very much articulated by his helmet being on and off. But yeah, I like that. Guys, for you lot, I'm going to give mine. Mine's painful. So, but whilst I give mine, start dropping your questions in if you have any questions for any of us. Drop them in. Keep them relevant, please. Just not weird. Ellie's not going to stand up and turn around. So, not to do. She'll do a TikTok after though.
These pants don't have pockets.
But yeah, drop them in and then we'll start answering your questions as we start to close up. But mine is so painful because it's one of the things that I didn't like about the series, but I love that moment and I love that episode. But it was chapter 5 where we saw John, and just whenever you're ready, just whilst I'm talking, if you like.
Put a Boba Fett in my back pocket too. Here we go. I am now Bricks and Bimbos.
She wishes.
No, I wished.
But yeah, chapter 5, that opening scene of chapter 5 with Mando using the Darksaber and absolutely decapitating people, because in live action we typically see limbs come off. I suppose probably before this, I'm trying to think, would it be Qui-Gon or Dooku? So we didn't really see Dooku's head come off. But Qui-Gon we saw full on kind of get run through. But the way that Mando just absolutely decapitated those people in that kind of butchery factory and literally chopped them in half. Like, we've never seen anything like that with a lightsaber in live action. And I was so happy for it. I was just so, like, that for me elevated and continues to show that like, people complain about Disney and they like childify everything, but they're really pushing the boundaries now and like they're not trying to aim it at a particular type of audience. They're just trying to make it relevant to the kind of the story they're trying to tell at that moment. And they really did that. And Tom there is like, yeah, Chrysanthemum ripped an arm off. And the way that, Madame Gaza is like talking him down and gives this really beautiful and poetic speech. And we thought, yeah, we like Black Chrysanthemum, like he is a bad guy. Like, we love it. And he still just rips his arm off and then pays his bar tab. Like, absolutely love that. but yeah, I think for me, just seeing, I think two things, but one, seeing the dark saber just used to absolutely decapitate people, because that's realistically that's what would have happened. Like, so to see it in a more realistic terms, and then kind of secondly would be just Mando struggling to use it. I really like that as well, as he kind of goes on to learn it, because again, showing that he has his flaws, he has a lot to learn, but we're all behind him and we're going to learn with him. Which we will. But it pains me to say those are my real lasting memories, because I'm the biggest kind of voice that says we needed it to be more Boba Fett. But never mind. It is what it is. Okay. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much is it, isn't it? Like, yeah, we all would have. But yeah, so I mean that takes us up, and we're just about to hit that 2-hour mark. So no questions are coming in. So with that, we'll start.
A question?
Of course you can, John. Of course.
So this is for everybody. Which cameo do you think was bigger? Do you think Luke Skywalker's in season 2 of Mando was, or did you think Cad Bane's was? Do you think it impacted the story? And which one did you enjoy more?
I will go first, because when I watched Mando season 2, I was not on TikTok. I was on Twitter, but barely any Star Wars stuff. I was not like heavily on Reddit. I had absolutely no idea it was coming. It like truly shocked me. Whereas I think now, because I'm so ingrained in the fandom, I had seen every theory that had possibly been floated. And I knew that Cad Bane, or a bounty hunter of his level, was coming. And so I think Luke Skywalker, at least for me, because I like remember physically pausing it and being like, no, that's not Luke Skywalker. That cannot be him. And I had to like Google it. Like, is Luke Skywalker in season 2 of Mando? So for me, that I think the Luke one was bigger. And they also kept it as a secret really well. But the Cad Bane one, I think a lot of people expected. Also probably because of Bad Batch. He'd recently been in the works.
And I think the thing is with Luke's, no one expected it, because no one kind of thought about the CGI sort of route. I mean, obviously they did it with Carrie Fisher and stuff, but it just, yeah, as you said, it wasn't expected. I didn't expect it at all. And like, no one really thought of, they're bothered to do the CGI sort of stuff. So when it was like, damn. But yeah, I would agree. Luke was more impactful for me, and especially because I relate to those, and I like those characters like Luke and stuff more than Cad Bane and things like that. But yeah.
And James, what about you?
Yeah, it has to be Luke, hands down. It's to jump on Ellie's point. Yeah, you do expect a bounty hunter of some notoriety to show up. Whereas with Mando, some people did predict it, but the showrunners weren't really giving anything. It was just speculation. And the fact that he showed up was just, he's just such a huge and legendary character. For him to just show up in a TV show and just be all like, yeah, I'm still around. And it's like, this is the first time we've seen you. I mean, ignore The Last Jedi, but this is the first time we've seen you after, the Return of the Jedi. Once we've seen you in your youthful state, we've got to figure out, like, what have you been doing all this time? So it invited so many questions just by him showing up. And, that whole scene of him just taking out all of those droids, getting to him, and it was just wonderful. It was perfect. It had to have been him.
Yeah. Obi-Wan, what about you, man? Which one do you like?
100% Luke. For the kind of those reasons, I think nobody expected it. I think it's almost set the precedent now that what it's done is it's created expectation. Last week, James and I talked a lot about how almost that expectation is ruining the experience for Star Wars fans, because we're putting a lot of expectation out there of this person's going to show up, that person's going to show up, and we're almost ruining it for ourselves rather than just enjoying what we get. But I think that Luke was probably the last great surprise. Cad Bane was brilliant and really loved it, and I think a lot of people were certainly expecting him to come in. But at the same time, I think and don't get me wrong, I I was all in on it, but I think where they had to be a little bit more careful with Cad Bane is they had to work on the basis that people didn't know who he was, so they could. And I don't really know what more they could have done, but I just feel like Luke's introduction was played on that. Like, look, when everybody realizes that it's Luke Skywalker, everybody knows who Luke Skywalker is. But like when everybody realizes it's Cad Bane, or when the audience realizes, or we see that it's Cad Bane, not everybody is going to know that it's Cad Bane. So they had to almost do it in a far more bite-sized chunk. And then then that's why we got a lot more of him the next week, to give people a chance who didn't know who Cad Bane was to go and find out who Cad Bane was. Because believe it or not, John, there are Star Wars fans who don't know who Cad Bane is. So,
I know my dad didn't know who he was. I had to explain.
Yeah.
He doesn't like all that Clone Wars stuff, so.
No,
I will
no,
say
go.
one thing that was like really magical to me about the Cad Bane moment. It was the same voice actor.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so when he opened his mouth, you were like, "Holy crap!"
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's the Cad Bane we know.
Do you know? I think as well, like the emotion that it sparked was very different. Like the Luke one was like off your seat. Like, is it? Because we all knew it was, but we didn't want to believe it was until he kind of took the hood off. But like we were almost like, is it Cad Bane? Like, well, there was a long time where a lot of people were like, and even I was like, who is it? Like, who could it be? And then I was going through like everybody in my head. Then all of a sudden it was like, oh shit, that's Cad Bane. But he was so menacing. His teeth, when all you could see were his teeth. And I started to get this kind of feeling of anxiety and apprehension, because I knew, shit, like this is not like our side aren't winning here. Whereas with Luke, it was like, yeah, our side are winning here. So, but great question, John. You should run the Opie-Verse.
I should. I really should. I'll shave my head and everything. I can't grow a beard. Like, I can't grow as nice a beard as you, but I'll
You
try.
can't grow one at all.
Okay, I'll grow a nice mustache.
Okay. Question to both of you then. We'll finish that as the last question. What would your answer to that question be?
Which one do you like more?
Luke Skywalker's. It took my breath away, and that hallway scene, like paralleling Vader's hallway scene, was like the coolest thing in the entire world. And like when I saw Cad Bane, because like I've watched like all the Clone Wars and stuff, I just felt unsettled, and I was like, this is gonna be bad. I'm gonna be sad, but he's really cool, so I am excited for him to be here. But Luke was better by far.
So for me, it was Luke, obviously. I was in Aaron's basement when we watched it, and I was running around. I was like, no way, it's not Luke Skywalker.
He jumped up, was running around screaming, oh my god, it's Luke Skywalker.
And then when we saw him...
At what point though, John? Like when they said, oh, it's an X-Wing, when you saw it fly in, or did you have to wait for the lightsaber?
When Cara Dune said, what's one X-Wing going to do? I was like, no way.
John
then
just kept saying no way over and over again. It was so cute.
And then I jumped up and I started running. I was like, it's Luke Skywalker. It's Luke Skywalker. But for the Cad Bane thing, I was worried about how they were going to do a Duros like Cad Bane in live action. Mm-hmm. So when I saw him, I was more critical than anything. But I told Aaron, because I was like, oh, I don't think he looks that great. I told Aaron after, I was like, oh, I think he was more unsettling than anything. And that's, that was the biggest thing. I think he looks amazing, but I was just kind of creeped out, Cad Bane was a menacing. He was very menacing when he was talking to Cobb Vanth and the deputy,
Yeah, his design was so menacing. And although his face wasn't like as long as it was in the Clone Wars, I still feel like they translated it over to live action as well as they could.
Right. R.I.P. Deputy Scott, by the way. Best character in Book of Boba Fett.
I'm just glad Cobb Vanth's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to ask one follow-up question, and then we are definitely done. Just because I feel like it was an uneven level field. Like, Cad Bane never had an opportunity there, right? So, Cad Bane or Boba Fett in the Mandalorian? Which was
I think
the
you
best?
should start Obi-Wan. I think you should start.
No, I'm asking, so over to you.
I got to say Boba, again, I mean, because you see the Slave One, and you're like, oh, is he going to be a bad guy? Last time we see him, he's a bad guy. and it's gonna be oh god. And then you see Fennec Shan. Last time we see her, she's a bad guy, and then
and like him taking out all the stormtroopers.
right,
It was
right.
so cool.
Just with the gaffy stick alone, So then you get his armor, and he's just killing everybody, and blowing up the 2 transports. And I missed one.
And the
okay,
seismic charge.
Boba. Well, that was after.
But that was so cool.
I mean, Cad Bane just didn't have enough time on screen to compare, and he didn't do as much as Boba did in that one episode, So.
Fair. Anyone else? Chloe, James, Ellie?
I'd agree with that, to be honest. I have nothing to add to that. I completely agree.
Same, yeah, absolutely.
I think I say Cad Bane. I really.
Ooh.
Just gotta be different, don't you, Ellie? Just
Devil's
gotta be
advocate
different. I'm just messing with you.
The Clone Wars is like my thing. I had a TV in my room growing up, and I had all of the Clone Wars episodes recorded on my, what's it called? DVR.
Yeah.
All of them, and I would just rewatch them when I was like 8 years old. Yeah, 8, 9. And so Cad Bane's just very, very reminiscent for me. So probably Cad Bane.
I would go Cad Bane for a different reason. So I love horror films, and the one thing I love about horror films is how uneasy they make me feel. Cad Bane made me feel uneasy, and I liked it. It's basically like when I wake up in the morning and Ellie's commenting on 3 of my videos. Like, I hate it, but I like it as well at the same time. But yeah, it just like as cool as it was with Boba, it was very action driven, and I love narrative, I love suspense, and we really got that with Cad Bane. I genuinely thought that they did it brilliantly. So for me, it like that really played to like what I love, and that tends, yeah.
I also agree with that. I think the Cad Bane CGI was like insane.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people's initial instinct was to be critical, but then you're critical because it's just so freaky and it is so good. And you've never seen Cad Bane in live action. Yeah, I agree with you on that one, Liam.
Thank you. It's a rarity. There you go. I'm going to make a TikTok of that. I agree with you, Liam. I'm going to actually make a soundbite and an actual sound of that on TikTok. Never mind. Anyway, guys, we will call it a day there. But thank you very much to our panel. This is the first in kind of this is the end of phase 1, as Harvey, I know you like to call it. And the plan is once a month I'm going to do like a specialist topic and have different panels on, and we'll all talk about different things. God knows when the next one will be and what the next topic will be, but we'll get there. But no, thank you all for giving up your time to be part of it. It has been an absolute honor and a pleasure to host you all once again. To you lot, it has been once again an honor and a pleasure to host you and to have you here, being so noisy and contributing in the chat and kind of steering the conversation, because you guys really kind of give us things to think about and to talk about. And that's essentially why we're here as well, to kind of include you guys as well. So thank you all. Have a great week. If you haven't kind of checked out our guys, I'm sure you know them all, but if you haven't already, all of their link trees and beacons and all of that are linked below in the description. Go and check them out, because I tell you now, I vouch for them all. Next Sunday, I can tell you we have a back to the one-on-one, and we have Jamie, the brick educator, on after long last. So I'm very much looking forward to that one, because it's going to be a very, very different conversation. But yeah, good night, everyone. Good afternoon, and have a great rest of your day. Ellie, Erin, and John, James, and Chloe, have a pleasant evening and settle down. But thank you again, everyone. Now, everybody do the really awkward waving goodbye until they drink goods.